Hello, Yawning Angel here, and in this video I'll be telling you how I took a type-in game listing for the ZX Spectrum and made an Amiga version written in Amos. So about a year ago I made a video about a Spectrum type-in game called 3D Wall. This game was a type-in listing from a copy of Sinclair Programs magazine, which I've had in my collection since I was a kid. So I got that program listing typed into one of my Spectrums and it worked perfectly well. You're probably seeing some footage from that video on your screen now.
Which string rules are nothing, so if you haven't pressed anything, to move it so it doesn't actually crash into anything. But this is working! And you know, I remember this from back in the day. Oh, hang on, I've gone wrong here.
But I wanted to take the game further. I wanted to make an Amiga version and make it a little less basic and amateurish as the Spectrum version. The Spectrum version was fun, but I wanted to do an Amiga version in Amos and add some spice to the game. So about a year later, and I think I've managed to do just that. Yes, I have taken most of the topics covered in my Amos programming tutorial videos, available on this channel, and managed to bring them all together in order to bring you 3D Wall, the Amiga version, written in Amos. Now, let me be honest about this version of the game. It's a little bit janky. It has the air of the bedroom coder about it. Can you smell something? It's not perfect and there may be some bugs. Does this top go with this hat? The code is probably not as efficient as it could be. But I had fun making this program and I want to share that journey of its creation with you in this video. Also, you'll be able to download the source code for this program for free from my website, and there'll be a link in the description down below. So first off, there was the conversion from Spectrum Basic over to Amos on the Amiga.
So this is the code which was a straightforward conversion from the Spectrum version over to Amos. I won't go through this now, there's a whole video about this. But if I run this, there's your instructions: S to pause, O to go left, P to go right. There's no joystick control in this. Build a wall to the bottom of the screen where you will start another wall from the top, but beware, do not bump into the sides of the screen or walls or poles, otherwise the game will end. I didn't think to use poles going forward, but you'll see that in a bit. I use something else as my obstacles. Right, so let's press the key to start. Obstacles being positioned. Turn the sound down a bit because it does get a bit annoying. It's a little bit slow. Oh no, don't hit anything. I'm not sure the collision detection is that accurate either. On this version. On the Spectrum version it was lethal. And there you have it. And then we can choose how far we build the next wall across. So if I do 150, and it reloads and sets us up ready for another level. I'm not sure this works too well, but we'll see. Yes, it does. So we're positioned further across the screen now. I really just did this as a... Turn that sound down because it's quite annoying. I really just did this as a straightforward conversion. So, yeah, no frills on this at all. So let's see if that collision detection works. Let me crash into something. Oh, hard luck, you hit the side. Press C to go again. Really, that's it. Simple and straightforward. No frills.
Clearly we can do better. So for the new version, it was apparent that a major rethink was needed. How am I going to make this version of the game more interesting than the original? Well, let me show you what I've come up with design-wise. Time to grab a fresh cup of tea and dive on into the game.
Okay, here we are then in front of the code. Cup of tea obtained. Oh, that's good this morning. The observant amongst you will notice that I'm wearing a different top. And that's because I have filmed all of these scenes out of sync. That's the way of things, trying to get a video out before Christmas. Bit of a rush, but here we go. Right then, so this is the game. So I've got this screen here, and I'll explain a bit more about this screen in a minute. But what I am going to do, I'm going to take you through the game concepts and how I came up with what I came up with. So from this screen here, this is our intro splash screen. I'll tell you more about how this was created in a while. But I press S to start the game. And what would happen is the game will start to load, but then I'll pause it and I'll take you through all the individual elements. So,
starting game.
Bit of voice there. Let's turn that sound down. Right, I'm pausing that. So this is the game screen. You'll notice that it shares a similarity in the same colour background as the Spectrum version, and that's about where the similarities end, apart from the movement of the bricks. So at the top here, we've got a dashboard which shows us our score, the number of bricks we've used, and the level that we're on, and a bit of a 3D wall title there. Remember, I am not a graphics person, so this is as good as it gets. So we've got our brick wall, these are our bricks, and our brick wall is basically going to build straight down the screen. It's just going to go from the top to the bottom, but we can control it, we can move it left and right with the aid of the joystick. We can control where it is positioned on the vertical axis on the screen. Now, you'll notice these things that have appeared here that I would hope you think look remarkably like paint pots. And that's because they are paint box. Yes, indeed. I chose, for the obstacles for the game, you're going to be building a brick wall down and you're going to try and avoid these paint pots, which have been randomly scattered around the screen. If you hit any of these multicolored paint pots, then it is game over straight away. You'll notice here there's another paint pot with a D on it, and this is actually a dynamite paint pot. Yes, indeed, bear with me, this does make sense. If you hit the dynamite paint pot, it destroys all the other paint pots on the level, and you get points for destroying those. And once they're destroyed, you've got a clear run through to the bottom of the screen. As soon as your brick wall gets to the bottom, then that's the end of that level. You get your scores and then you progress to the next level. Now, you've probably noticed that around the edge of the screen is a red border. Now, if you hit that border, what will happen is you will bounce back into the play area, so you can't go off the sides of the screen. However, what you need to be aware of is that if you do hit the sides of the screen, the number of bricks that you have used resets to 0. I've kind of done some weird things with the scoring on this, because effectively the overall aim of the game is to get a high score, but it's not just a score. You need to get a high score, you need to use a lot of bricks, and you need to get to, wait for it, level 5. Yes, this is a 5-level game, so it doesn't go on forever, but the idea is to get a high score. And that score is made up of your score, your bricks, and obviously getting to level 5. Right, so let me unpause this. The version of the game which you will be able to download for free from my website will not have this pause functionality, and I've only put this in just so I can show you the mechanics of the game. So then, with a joystick in hand... Oh, so I've hit that. Yeah, so I hit the dynamite. Another pot has appeared. Right, so the game is quite fast moving. So when you hit the dynamite, obviously all the paint pots explode and you do get points for those blowing up. But you'll now notice that another paint pot has appeared. One that looks a bit mystical. It's sort of blues and purples and whatnot. This paint pot is a teleport paint pot, and this effectively follows you down the screen or follows you in your movements and will always appear near where your front brick is. It may appear, you know, on the same horizontal axis, it may appear a little bit closer to you, it may appear a little bit away from you, and sometimes it will appear on top of you, so there's no way to avoid it. This gives the game a bit of an edge and a bit of a bite, as it were. Now what happens, there are one of 3 things can happen, I think it's 3, when you hit the teleport pot. So effectively you can teleport to the next level, which is really good. You can teleport to the previous level, assuming you are not on level 1. You can restart the level that you're on, or you can completely restart the level and it resets your scores to 0. So there's some bonuses and some penalties for hitting the teleport, and it's up to you what you do. So what I'm going to do then, I'm just going to let this just get to the end, and I'll show you what happens when you finish the level. So here we go, we've got a level complete message scrolls up the screen, so it shows us what our score is, the bricks that we've used so far, and any teleports that we've used this game. We now just press a key for the next level. That screen scrolls away, and our paint pots are positioned randomly. So I'm going to pause that again. So as the levels increase, you get more paint pots. There are more obstacles. You get 1 to 2 dynamite pots, if I remember correctly, and the teleport pot will appear at random as long as you're not at the start of the level. So let me play this level through then, and you can see it working. Hit the dynamite, paint pots explode. Now we're going to hit the teleporting, and it's chosen to restart this level. So it hasn't reset my scores, it's just taken me back to restart the level. And it's hit me again, now it's going to teleport me to the next level. So now I'm on level 3. More paint pots now. Oh, I've hit it again. Now it's going to bounce me back to the previous level. Watch what happens when I hit the edge. Oh no, I didn't even get to the edge. The teleport pot has hit me again. And this is where the game has a bit of bite to it in my mind, makes it a bit more of a challenge. I've hit the edge. Do you see what happened there? So as I hit the edge, it bounced me back, but it's now reset my bricks total to 0. So my score is 2,170, the number of bricks used is 0, and teleports for this game so far are 4. So I can press a key to go on to the next level. So this will take me now to level 3. When it clears that level, I just want to explain that quickly. Let me just get this to load. When you clear a level and it resets the screen, as those paint pots disappear, you don't get any points for those. You only get points for the pots when they explode as a result of hitting a dynamite pot. Please note as well, where there are 2 dynamite pots, if you activate one of them, the second one will stay on the screen, but it is then treated as a normal paint pot. So if you accidentally hit it, it will be game over. Let me show you what happens on a game over scenario when I hit one of these normal paint pots. And here we are, straight away, game over, gives me my score, tells me how many bricks I've used, number of teleports used. I made it to level 3. Press any key, that scrolls away, the game resets, and I'm ready to go again. Right, so with that said, let's try and play the game through. So from our intro screen then, we press S to start, takes us into the first level of the game. And we just got to avoid those paint pots and try and get to level 5 and get a really high score. That is essentially the game concept. It's really straightforward. So let's do that.
Starting game.
Right, really simple there. Just took us straight to the end of that level. We avoided pretty much everything. So it's quite easy to get into. You can make it more complex as you wish, really. You can build more bricks. Dynamite. See, you can do this. And that's how you build your score up. You just keep building that wall. On to level 3. Oh no. Going to level 4 now though, so that's not a bad thing. Dynamite. Oh no, restarting this level. Straight into the dynamite. Okay, on to level 5, the final level. A lot more pots now.
Dynamite.
Get that dynamite, get rid of these quickly. Ah, and the teleport pot appears. Oh, back to level 4. Ah, that's not too annoying. My hands are sweating. Oh my god. This game is challenging even me. Let's just get to level 5. I'm not going for a high score. I just want to get to level 5 and show you the end screen. Wow, man. My own game is making me work for it, you know what I mean? Maybe that's a good thing, I don't know. Oh no! Oh, back to previous level. I was going to go for that dynamite pot on the left, and the teleport got me. Game over, no ways! Oh, right, so there's something you need to be aware of. What can happen occasionally is a normal paint pot can be positioned and then a dynamite pot can be positioned over it. I don't have any mechanics in the game to check for that. So sometimes if you go for a dynamite, there could be another paint pot underneath it. Right, so what I'm going to do then, I'm going to try and play the game through. I want to get to level 5 and I want to show you that screen at the end. So we're going to do that next. Right, so you join me in the thick of the action here. I'm on level 4. I'm just about to finish level 4 and get myself onto level 5. So let's unpause the game. Right, okay. I've gone through the game quite quickly, so my score is quite low. But I just wanted to get us to level 5 and hopefully finish. Fingers crossed. A lot more pots. Just want to get to the bottom. And I've done it. Level complete. Now you'll notice the screen here says press any key because there's no press any key for next level because this is the end. Now we're going to get the end splash screen. Hopefully it clears the screen again. You win! You win! Game complete. Final score 935. Bricks used 157 and only used one teleport. Press S to go again. And that really is the game. Quick and simple, no frills, a little bit of a challenge in there. I think it's quite fun and I'm quite pleased with how I've taken the Spectrum version and actually given it a bit more oomph. There's still lots more that can be done with this, but for now we've got a very simple game. It kind of works, gives you a bit of a challenge. Yeah, I'm quite happy. So we need to look at the code now and some of the mechanics as to how I got some of this working in the game. But you know what? I need another cup of tea, so I'm going to go grab a cup of tea first and then we'll get back into it.
Well, with the game concepts covered, let's dive into the code and take a look at some of the game mechanics.
Right, back with a cup of tea and we're going to be looking at the code. I'm going to try and break down some of the key functionality within the program. First of all, mouthful of tea. That's good. Regular viewers to my channel will notice I've got a different camera setup for this because I'm not actually giving this as a tutorial. This is more just an explanation as to what I did in this program, how I got some of the stuff to work. Right, so first of all, let's have a quick look at the layout of the code. You'll notice there's probably, I'm going to turn the sound down. You're going to notice there's probably not a lot of code on this screen. There's just a lot of procedures. And I've purposefully done it this way. I've tried to break everything out into procedures. So there's no go-tos or go-subs in this code, unlike the Spectrum version, the original Spectrum version that is. I really have just gone down the procedure route for this. So we start the program off, there's a game start procedure, screen setup procedure, load the bobs, then define all our global variables. We've then got a procedure here to set variables, we initialize our bobs, we initialize the play level, then we go into the main game loop. And this is our main game loop, and there's an end command at the end of that. Little reminder in here, to expand or collapse the procedures, just press F9 over the procedure name and that expands it. So where should we go first? So I think let's look at, that's our first procedure, oops, excuse me, game start. So there's our game start procedure. So we open a screen. What we do, we then load our title screen. We get the palette for that. We load in a sample bank. Yes, we're using sound samples in this program. I've recorded some of my own voice for some of the actions that take place in the game. And all we really do is just check for the S key being pressed, and then the game actually starts. That's really all there is to it. We set a volume here on the sample, we play the sample, we do a wait, then we close off the first screen, and we just go straight into the game start procedure. So after that comes the screen setup. We go into screen setup, and screen 1 is our play field. I got a little bit ambitious with the colours here, 64. We could probably tone that down a bit, but for now I'm just leaving it at 64. Screen 2 is for the dashboard, and I've got an IFF file which is loaded in for that. That's then treated as an icon. We get the colour palette for that. We then paste that icon, and then we position the screens, we line them up appropriately, and then we set some zones. One thing I do want to be clear on here is all the code in this program, I have covered these topics in programming tutorials here on my channel. They're in the Amos playlist folder, so do go and check them out if you need more information on them. But I've tried to pull everything together in order to make a game so you can see all this work in the real world examples, as it were. Anyway, zones. So I reserved 2 zones, and these are for the left and right of the screen. So this is to check for collision detection. So if you hit the left-hand side of the screen or the right-hand side of the screen, it's zones that are being used for that detection. Right, so that was screen setup. We then load the bobs. So all we do is just load our ABK file, which has all our bobs in it. We set a double buffer, and we make a mask. Using the make mask command, puts a mask around all of our bobs. So that's a load bobs. After load bobs, we hit the procedure set vars, so set variables. And what this does, it just really initializes all our variables, just gets things ready for the game to be started. Why, Yawning Angel, have you put this in a procedure, you may be asking? Well, effectively, as the game has restarts in it, when you do restart, you just want to punch a key to restart the game, and it just reinitializes everything. So that's why I've put things into procedures the way I have. A lot of talking today, so a lot of tea is needed. So after we've done our set vars, we then do our init bobs. Init bob. No, we initialize our bobs. So we set which bobs do what. So we've got a down bob, we've got a left bob, and we've got a right bob. Here's something that you haven't seen. There's a glue pot. There is a glue pot in the game, but I have not put that code into the game. I ran out of time. That was going to be another obstacle with a bit more fun going on there. But yeah, the glue pot doesn't exist. We've got a teleport, we've got dynamite, and we've got our exploding pot as well. We will go in and have a look at the bobs in a minute. I'll show them all to you in the object editor. Right, so that's our initialized bobs. After we've initialized bobs, we initialize our play level. And this is quite a large procedure. All output goes to screen 1, we clear it down, we switch off all the bobs, we then paste our starting bob. So our first brick has to be positioned on the screen, and that is positioned. We make mask again. I put that in here because where I clear down after the game was finished and reset everything, sometimes we're jumping about through the procedures, masking wasn't happening, so I put it in here again. Basically, I'm not going to go through all of this in depth, but this is just basically working out how many obstacles go on the screen, how many pots appear, how many dynamite pots appear. You can have a look at this code yourself, but we just work out, depending on what level you are, how many pots are you going to get, how many dynamite pots are you going to get. And we define the placement area on the screen just using the RND statement. We then dump our bobs in and we play a little sound as the pots are being positioned. We position our dynamite pots. We do the same for them. We define our placement area for them. Once again, we place those and we play a little tune as well. Then we draw the screen edges. And then we just set a flag to tell us whether paint pots have been removed or not. Once again, not going into the mechanics of that here. Have a look at the code yourself and follow it through and see if you can work through it. Right, so once we've done our initialized play level, we then go into our main game loop, which is here. We paste our first bob again, and then we set some flags. There's a piece of code that says remove this, only here for the video. This is my pause basically. So if the if the spacebar is pressed, we use in key string to check that. We turn the mouse pointer on and we wait until a key is pressed, and then we hide the cursor again. So the bricks are always going to move down, and they're always going to move down 5 pixels at a time. We draw the brick as it moves down. As long as we've got at least 10 bricks on the screen, we can then activate the place teleport. So I'll come back to that in a minute, but place teleport pretty much works the same way as the placement for all the other pots on the screen. We increment our brick counter, we increment our score by 5. So here's the thing, so every brick that moves down, you're getting 5 points straight away. And what we want to do is paste the bob back on the screen so you see it leaving a trail of bricks behind it. We wait vertical blank line, we play a tune, we dive into our game score procedure to update our scores. We handle our joystick movement. So we just checking J left, and we'll be checking J right as well. There is no up or down in this, it's just purely left or right. We do an edge detect, so we need to do this edge detect if you're moving left or right. So if you've hit the edge of the screen, what happens? Some various code in here to handle all of this. What I have done is made a procedure called J left and J right, which handles the mechanics of moving left and right and positioning the correct graphics as you move across the screen. We've got a procedure called hit stuff. So has our main bob collided with something? So we're doing bob collision detection. Once again, we've covered this in the previous video. That is handled in the procedure hit stuff. We check for the bottom of the screen. If you've got to the bottom of the screen, a procedure called complete is run, and that gives you your final score for that level. And that is pretty much it. Let's close up our game loop procedure. It's quite big. Right, so let's go into some of those other procedures. So then complete, when you complete a level, so those displays that were scrolling up the screen and down again, showing you your scores, etc. That's actually a screen. It's a very small screen, but I basically set that screen, load all the content onto it, and then just use this for loop and the screen display command with a variable which just, so in this case it goes from 201 to 101. Of course I'm going backwards, I use a step -1 command in there, and that just brings the screen up. If you press a key, then it just pushes the screen back down again, then it closes it. Set some more variables. There's a comment in here which probably isn't needed, so I can take that out. Still got some debug code in here, so some of the comments are a bit choice. There are only 5 levels to the game, so we check for our 5 levels. So if we're less than level 5, we just fire back into game loop. If we've got to level 5, we go into a fin game procedure. There's our finished game procedure. We open, we go to screen 0, we load in this IFF image, which is our splash screen for the end. We do our final score. We check for the key being pressed, the S key to restart the game. We close off a number of screens. We reset a load of things, and we fire these procedures again. And this is the beauty of having procedures in your game, because you can just call them from wherever. You need to manage your variables going in and out of them, but you know, done effectively, it works quite well. Here is our game score procedure, which it does nothing more than just print our score, brick count, and our level on screen 2, because screen 2 is that IFF file, which is our dashboard. Edge check, basically we're checking zone command. We've got the zone X and Y in here. Has Bob1 hit any of those zones that we've defined? If it has, play a tune, reset our position. That's really all there is to it. And of course here we reset our brick counter, which is quite important. Place the teleport procedure. Once again, it's just randomizing where we're going to put that teleport paint pot. It works roughly around where you are on the screen, so it's not going to place it at a random location completely, but it does keep it quite close to you. Our hit stuff procedure, basically, I'll leave you to go through this code in detail, but effectively, if our Bob1, our main player Bob, has hit a dynamite pot, then we just do a procedure here which just removes all the other pots. We've got to remove Bob's procedure here, and I pass in a reason why you are going into that procedure and what pot you have hit. We remove the pot, the dynamite pot that you did hit. If we've hit a teleport, then we work out what's going to happen as part of hitting that teleport. And here we go. We've got 3 choices. Move to next level, move to previous level, assuming you're not on level 1, restart this level. Here's your reasons in here. They execute those accordingly. I'm not going to go through all of that in detail. And if we haven't hit a dynamite pot or a teleport pot, it's game over. Game over, man. It's game over. Game over, quite simple. We open another screen, and this is our splash screen for the message that scrolls up the screen. And exactly the same as the complete bit. We close off screens, we reset everything, and we go again. The remove Bobs procedure is depending on what values have been passed in. So if it's paint, you then just basically explode all the pots, and we just replace those pots with an exploding pot image. Once again, I cannot draw, so there's no animation on any of this. And if the cause was a dynamite pot, then you do the boom noise and you increment the score by 15. So if you hit a dynamite pot, every paint pot that explodes, you get an extra 15 points. Of course, if it was the cause is the end of the game, you play a tune, you get a bonus for finishing the level, plus 20, might change that. And you're effectively setting flags to say the pots have been removed. If it is the end of the game, you just blow up all the pots basically, you don't get any score for them and you just play a tune. J left and J right are pretty much the same here. So we check the positioning, whether you're going left or right. We move our brick across the x-axis based on the brick speed. And if we place a teleport pot as well, we do the place teleport in here too. So you can be going left or right, and you can have the risk of a teleport pot appearing. We check for hitting something, so we do the check on collision detection. We increment our score by 10. So if you're going left and right, you're getting 10 points, not 5 points for each brick placed. We do a check for if you're not going left, exit out of the procedure. Something I've never covered before is a pop proc procedure. That basically means that if a condition is met, it just bounces you out of the procedure. J right is exactly the same. It just does the same thing, but we just check for going right, place the appropriate graphic, etc., etc. And that is a whistle-stop tour through the code. Next up, let's look at those bobs, let's look at the sound files, and let's look at the splash screens. Right, the bobs used in the game. So here I am in the object editor. Now, as regular viewers to my channel will know, I'm not a graphics artist. I can't draw for toffee, but I've done as best as I can. So excuse the jankiness of some of these graphics. So the bricks. So these are my bobs for the bricks, and you'll notice they do differ. So they've got different sides showing and missing on them depending on which way they're going on the screen. So I've just got the 4 bobs. Oh no, I've got 3 bobs for the bricks. I didn't do these in order. This was all a bit of a rush. This is my paint pot. This is the generic pot that you hit. If you hit one of these, it's a game over. What else have we got? I've got a glue pot. Now this is mentioned in the program code, but I didn't get around to implementing this. I couldn't think of a suitable mechanic. I did think that if one of these was hit, it would slow you down, which could be an advantage if there were a lot of obstacles that you needed to steer around, or it just stopped you in your tracks. I don't know. I couldn't get a suitable game mechanic, but I've left the bob here. So if anyone wants to do anything with that in another version of this this game, then feel free. And there's my teleport paint pot. I don't think that looks too bad, actually. I was quite pleased with that. But there you go. Those are the bobs. That's all there is. 7 bobs. Oh no, 8 bobs in total because oh no, hang on. I'm spoken about the dynamite pot. Here's the dynamite paint pot. Once again, a very simple graphic for that. And the explosion. That's as best as I could do with the explosion. It does look like a bit of a sunflower. But seriously, I can't draw, so that's as best as I could get. Feel free to make any changes. What I would like to do with this is use some AML to do an animation of a paint pot exploding. But once again, there wasn't time. I wanted to get this video out before Christmas, so we've got what we've got. And that is it. A total of 8 bobs for that game. Brilliant. So here we are in the sample maker, or the sample bank maker within Amos. Now I have covered how to use samples in Amos before, and there's probably a link up above to a video which I've done on that. As a point of note, in issue 34 of Amiga Addict, which is the Christmas 2024 edition, I have a tutorial in there all about doing samples in Amos, how to get samples into Amos and how to use them. So be sure to check out the latest Amiga Addict. I'm not being paid to sponsor this. It's a great magazine. The guys and girls who produce it do a lot of work in this, so do check it out. Anyway, right, that aside, and also a shameless plug for my Amos tutorials in there. Right, so here we are in the sample bank maker. So what I've done with these, I recorded these samples on my phone. I then transferred them onto my Mac, I did some editing on them, and I then got them across onto the Amiga. I think I used Soundbox to then save them out as IFF audio files, and then I brought them into the sample bank maker and put them into a sample bank. So once again, all that's covered in a previous tutorial. Check out the link. So let's load one of these in.
Starting game.
So I don't know if you can hear that.
Starting game.
So I've changed some of the frequency and whatnot on some of these, so they just sound a bit different. Here's one for the glue pot, which we haven't used.
Glue pot. Glue pot.
Teleporting.
Teleporting.
I put a little bit of a reverb on there. I did that on my Mac.
Teleporting.
I didn't do that on the Amiga.
Dynamite.
If you hit a dynamite pot.
Dynamite.
There you go. So some harmless fun there, just to put some samples in to the game, make it a little bit more, give it a bit more character. I kind of think that's worked all right, and I hope you think so too. Right, here I am then in Personal Paint, and this is the game intro screen. Really basic stuff. I'm not a graphics artist. This image here, this bit, is actually a scan from the original Sinclair Programs type-in listing. So there's the magazine there, and the listing is here, and there's that brick. Get my fingers right. There's that brick wall image just there. So I've tried to use it on the splash screen as just as a bit of a nod to the original game. Really, that's all there is to it. It's very simple screen. If I switch environments, you'll see here is my, is that coming out all right? Yeah. This is the dashboard just here. And that was, yeah, that was just as a brush, basically. I originally created that. Nothing flash, nothing too technical, just a very simple graphic that I wanted, something static for our scoreboard. And finally, this is the graphic for the splash screen at the end of the game. Obviously in this space here, I use Amos to actually print in the relevant information. But, you know, that is quite simple, really. Not too glamorous, but it does the job. Nice image there. It's like, you win, well done. Anyway, simple stuff. You don't have to use Personal Paint for this, of course. You can use any paint package you like. I just prefer using Personal Paint. I find it a bit more solid and robust, a little bit more easier to use than Deluxe Paint. A controversial view, but there you go, that's my view, and that's how I roll.
And that is it for this video. Thank you ever so much for watching. I really hope you found this of interest. Don't forget the source code for this program is available to download for free from my website, and there's a link here and there'll be a link in the video description down below. I will ask that if you do make any changes to this program, you do it as another version of this program, because I'd like to keep this version as it is for now. I am going to make some changes to it in the future. I'm going to add some extra things in, and they'll include things like a high score table, maybe even a compiled version of the game as well. Perhaps we'll write out the high scores to a file somewhere. And there'll be some more obstacles in the game. We'll make use of those glue pots and see what we can do with them. If you've enjoyed playing this game, why not take a picture of your best scores and share that with me on social media? It'll be kind of fun. Thanks once again for watching. Don't forget all the relevant links are in the video description down below. If you want to support my work, you can do so on Ko-fi. There should be a link up here. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, all that usual good stuff in order to support me. I've got a lot more Amos videos coming up in the future, a lot more Amiga videos, and hopefully some BBC Master stuff as well. Who knows? But until next time, thanks once again, and whatever you do, keep safe and keep it retro.